in the UK. You could tell someone from your cluster of villages and the cluster of villages that were 20 miles down the road. It's less pronounced these days because obviously people are more mobile. Yeah, you've got cars. You can drive 20 miles in an hour without breaking the speed limit most of the time. So, it's language becomes more homogenized when you can do that. Okay. Oh, there's a bit up there. Well, never mind. I'd already decided to turn around and go back this way. Speaking of cars, I am so done with cars. So our Saab 9.3 has been in the repair shop for 2 weeks. An electronic module burnt out, and so it needed to be replaced. And of course it's a Saab, nobody makes them anymore, so sourcing replacement parts can be a little bit tricky. Now it's not like, my 1950s Camaro, I can just go down to a store and buy spark plugs and things and stuff and they all fit because they're all universal. There's an electronic component, it has burnt out, the car won't go until it's replaced, and just nobody makes them anymore. Kind of like sourcing, I believe it was a problem for the space shuttle before they grounded them all, was we need replacement parts from the space shuttle, and since the space shuttle was built in the 1970s, we're looking for printed circuit boards of the technology level of the 1970s, and it was very difficult to source them. Same with Concorde. It was very expensive to keep those things in the air because the technology in them was 30 years out of date, and nobody's made that sort of thing for 30 years. So it's not like you can go to Intel and say, hey, can you make us? It's sort of, no, we've refactored all of our productions to produce the latest and greatest stuff, and you want something that's 30 years old, you're going to have to hunt for it, or you're going to have to get a small almost cottage fabricator to make it for you. And so that's kind of what's happening with the Saab now, is because it's a high-tech piece of equipment that nobody makes anymore, you have to really hunt for replacement electronics. So that's why it took so long to get the thing back on the road again. And then added to that, the workshop I use specialises in European vehicles maintenance, which is why I go there. But he doesn't have a programmer for Saab electronics, so he had to call around and find someone who did have a specific programmer for that, and then took the car out to him, had it reprogrammed and brought it back. So took the Saab back on Wednesday, and all I did was, paid for it, get in the car, drive it home, stuck it in the garage. We only need one car most of the time, but very, very occasionally it helps to have two, especially since we're driving older vehicles, so when one of the vehicles is in a shop, we can drive the other one. Well, went to church on Sunday, and nobody else in the house got up, so I went on my own. And Mrs. Osa decided to go to the second service in the morning. Went down to the car, and the car wouldn't start at all. Just nothing. So we did figure out last night that, I need a new battery, which is $250, but at least It's not a $2,000 repair because some other electronic components failed. We jumped it from the minivan, which worked. So I don't think the battery's holding a charge. Fortunately, places like AutoZone, you can take your car down there. They will test the battery for you and then tell you if you need a new one or whether you just need to leave it on a charger for 3 hours or 3 days or whatever. So sometime this week, I'm not sure they're open today. They may be. Just because it's Memorial Day doesn't mean that the car stores, auto parts places are closed. But maybe later this afternoon I will drive over there, get the battery tested, and see if we need a new one. But also that's something I can do myself, I think. It did occur to me this morning that it might not be something I can do myself because I might need to keep the car connected to a power source so that all the electrics doesn't reset and need reprogramming, because that would be a disaster.
Can I say hi?
Yeah.
Hello, people.
Okay, and that is done. We need to lift the thing, turn it off, fold it up, and we are done again. Rent a narrowboat. Narrowboats are good. There's lots of pubs along the canals as well. So again, you will have ample time to eat good food while you're doing the narrowboat thing. I can't tell if the front lights are coming on. Front lights on, front lights off. Okay. Back to follow and oops. Rear mower needs fixed. So the thing I have down at the bottom of the screen that says John Deere 8R410 89%. Through recent testing, we've discovered that 70% is when things start getting more expensive to repair. Noticeably more expensive. So where it might be say £10 per point of repair as a percentage, it will climb to 11, 12, 13 as the percentage gets lower. So at 70% or up above 70%, equipment will cost not the same, but basically £10 per percentage point to fix back up to 100. But as soon as you get below 70, you're now looking at it's going to cost you progressively more. So you get down to 69%, it might be okay, now it's going to cost you £10.50 per point repaired for 31 points. You go down to 60 and it's going to be more like what am I doing here? Let's turn that on and unfold that. So yeah, it's going to be more thing, more expensive still. So you might be up to £15 per point for 40 points of repair. So the maintenance indicator that I have running at the bottom of the screen, it turns yellow at the point, and I didn't realize this, but it turns yellow at the point where it's now starting to cost me more to fix the mower on the back of the tractor. The front mower and the tractor themselves, they're fairly well maintained. I could fix them at the same time and everything would be fine. and they're not going to, they're going to cost me proportionally as much whether I repair them now or when they get down to 70%. This field is a little bit tricky because it does look like the edge of the field is right where the hedgerow is most of the time, along the top here. The lighter green grass is map grass, the rest is field grass, but you can see the field disappears under that tree somewhere, so I might be missing some of the good grass and crashing into things as I go. Nope. Okay. So again, this is another small pasture, animal pasture. So having the baler running around behind me is just going to be all sorts of kind of problems for us. So we'll just cut this at 22 kilometers an hour and then run around with the baler and pick up the bits as we go. I never did narrow boating, but it is a popular thing. But if you're going to be doing narrow boating, a pub crawl from up through Scotland to Ireland and back again, that's going to be quite a substantial vacation. Couple of years we were considering doing flying out to England. Mrs. Osa and I just don't like flying. Although for me, I kind of don't mind flying so long as I'm in the pilot seat, but it's been a long time since I was learning to fly planes and flying myself places. But the pilot gets a nice size seat. The passengers don't get quite so much of a seat, which is one of the reasons why I don't like flying. But we were thinking fly out to the UK, visit with the family for a couple of weeks, and then I think you can get a 10-day cruise ship back to the US. Now, in some situations, you can get a cruise ship that is basically a Caribbean cruise liner that's heading back to somewhere like Portsmouth, Southampton for a refit. So the ship's basically running empty. So if they can get some people to ride the ship and use the amenities and basically serve as a what's the word for it, a revenue earning situation on something that would otherwise just be ship travelling between point A and point B empty, they'll do that. However, there are some transatlantic cruises which just sail between the UK and the US. Normally they'll do, I think it's Southampton to New York, but a couple will do Southampton via New York to Miami and back again. But we'd probably do to New York because it's just closer to home. And the trip takes, I think, about 10 days. But the advantage with doing that is there's not so much in the way of jet lag, because it takes 10 days to cross, 6 hours, 8 hours difference. So kind of like driving between California and Texas. You're crossing 3 time zones for that, but really when it takes you 3 days to do it, effectively each day is 23, 25 hours long, or 23 hours the other way. And your body can do that. It's when you're looking at a day that's 28 hours long because you flew it. Your body doesn't have fun with that. I speak from experience. The first time I came to America was with my new employer, and they flew me from London to California. So that's a long flight, and it's 11 hours difference. Oh my goodness, that was. Excuse me, let me zoom out so I can see what this thing's doing. Right, there we go. Yeah. So coming to America wasn't too much of an issue. What I ended up doing was I would generally, at least for the first 2 weeks, I was going to bed at about 8-9 o'clock in the evening and waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's still not UK time, but it's not as disastrous as trying to either sleep for 23 hours or stay awake for 25 hours in order to get your sleep cycles on the same time as the sun rising and setting. When I went home, however, I flew back on the Saturday, arrived on the Sunday, went to work on the Monday, asked if I could take the Tuesday off because I had a month's worth of mail on the doorstep that I needed to go through, and I needed to go to the bank and take care of some things, and the bank was at the time, UK banks were only open till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So not really something you can do during business hours, especially not since I worked 30 miles from home. So I asked to take the Tuesday off, and I pretty much went to bed around 9 o'clock in the evening, and I didn't wake up until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was sort of, oh crap, the bank closes in an hour, I need to get down to the bank and pay bills and all the rest of it. And I just lost pretty much the entire day from jet lag. So flying from here to, it's not going to be as bad because obviously Michigan to the UK is 5 hours rather than the 8 hours that California to the UK is. But I still kind of expect it to be, if we fly out there, the first day is just completely written off. We're not going to be going anywhere. No, we're not going to be doing anything. We're going to be having breakfast at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But from that point onwards, our bodies should have recovered sufficiently. I am making a mess of this. To get round and actually do the people visits and sightseeing and all the rest of the stuff that you usually go on vacation for. But then coming home will just be I don't know what that rumble is. Coming home, I would probably be working the next day. So actually coming back by cruise, one, it's an extended part of the vacation, and two, it's it allows the body to recover the time difference in a more manageable, from a health aspect, way. However, things change. COVID came along. Visiting countries got a little bit more restrictive in some cases, and all of the crap that a lot of governments are pulling these days. do some. Well, let's look out the front window so I can actually do this properly. But hopefully, as the world maybe settles back down into something a little bit more normal, that may become a consideration again. But also, I'm kind of reaching retirement age, so maybe, taking a vacation for an extended period is not going to be as restrictive, because you've only got so much vacation time. But also you don't have as much income, so there's that. It gets to be a little bit ironic that the only time I'm going to have enough money to visit someone is when I get an inheritance from someone. So not necessarily the same someone's, but yeah. It's sort of a little bit of an issue, I guess. What's the time? 10:30 almost. So we've been running about 2 hours ish, which does mean that I think my YouTube release schedule is now going to be this is going to drop on Friday, and the next episodes are going to drop, well, the next hour is going to drop when the Saturday stream is running. And assuming I go another hour. It looks like everybody's waking up, so I need to check in with them, and then we'll see where we go from here. Okay, and I am back. We will be streaming for a little while longer, at least. We will be ramming bales left, right, and centre. How's the just sort of scurrying around here, trying not to crash into stuff and getting as much grass as we can. Obviously, at this point, we're doing contracts. Each field's going to give us more than enough grass to complete the contract, especially since I am, as possible, trimming the outside of the fields that we're cutting. However, where's the obviously the big thing here is I want to be able to get as much grass lifted and wrapped as possible, because anything left over is going to feed the cows, and is going to feed the cows today. I can't delay not feeding the cows now, because if they end up with no food, we end up with no milk production. And milk and butter is the most profitable thing we have on the farm right now. To the tune of about £40,000 per month, so per 3 game days, or per 3 game day-night cycles. It's kind of difficult to quantify farm sim time. Giants originally suggested that they were going to support 1 day per month, and a lot of the helps and prompt screens still list things per month. But if you went just before release, they listened to the community, and the community basically said, look, some of us like playing at higher speeds with more days per month. So Giant said, okay, fine. And it's what we were used to with Realismus's seasons. You could play 3-day seasons, 6-day seasons. So effectively 3-day seasons was 1 day per month. 6-day seasons was 2 days a month. So Giants relented on that count, but everything is factored to the month. So if you change the number of days per season in the setup menu, it will not change to that number of days per month until you cross from one month to the next. So we're playing 3 days a month. There are going to be 3 days in May. If I changed it to 10 days per month, I would have to wait till June before all the math reconfigures into, okay, there's now going to be 10 day-night cycles in the month of June.